my name is Kitty and I am an interior architect. I love my job because it allows me to incorporate my love of art with the maths and physics behind building homes and renovating. The one thing I like less about my job is the amount of project management that is required to actually realise a project and the amount of time it takes to get there. I got to my job by studying architecture and deciding I enjoyed a more interior based vocation and decided to pursue interests within the interior design, and then ended up meeting in the middle with interior renovation. So it wasn't always my goal to work in this industry. However, I think it is a natural side road to being an architect anyway. If I could do anything in the world, to be honest, I really enjoy what I do now. If money was no object, I'd love to go live on a farm somewhere and just have loads of animals, but I think I'd miss the interaction with people on a daily basis. So maybe that's just something to retire into later anyway. The industry, I think it really depends on which part of the industry you want to go into. It is quite a tough industry to be successful and make money in. Where I'm at the moment in the Netherlands, I work with quite a niche expat community, so I'm quite lucky that it's going very well for us. However, I think if you're more locally based or somewhere with a lot of interior designers, you really need to be good at what you do to be successful. So I think it's like almost every industry. The advice that I'd give to any students looking to start a career in my industry is just experience. I think ultimately a qualification always helps you get into any job, but work experience and knowledge of the industry besides that is very important. Exploring every situation you can and exposing yourself to different interiors so that you understand what you're designing and who you're designing for. The number one skill necessary to be successful in this industry is the ability to innovate and think in 3D, so you can understand a space quite easily by walking into it. If you can't understand a space and if you can't visualize what it can be, then you're going to really struggle designing anything. How important are degrees? I think almost everybody I know in this industry has at least a bachelor's, if not some sort of BTEC that is equivalent to that, because it does seem to be something that you need to get into any higher end work. I don't think a master's is necessary. As I said before, work experience is what's most important, and also networking and meeting people. Ultimately, even if these people might end up being your competition at the end of the day, I think it's important that you've made friends and they're there to help you and you're there to help them. And if you're a good designer and you really believe in yourself, then nobody can push you out of what you do. How did my background shape my professional success? I think especially because we live in Amsterdam and I'm English speaking, a lot of it is just simply because I am English, and the history in architecture has really helped to make a solid foundation to understand buildings and renovation. A lot of networking, a lot of time, a lot of hard work, a lot of research, and just really making it more of a lifestyle than a job is what's important. Do you have time for additional activities? Work-life balance, being self-employed, is very blurred lines between what is work and what is not work, mostly because the office is the living room and the living room is the office, so you don't really ever get away, but that's what I wanted from being self-employed. Anyway, we do a lot of hiking, we do a lot of traveling. Whenever we go somewhere, we always go see sort of new places, old places, and just absorb as much as possible. So I think I'm interested in traveling and exposing myself to other things anyway, but being outside and really making sure I have good downtime is important to keeping your mind healthy. COVID hasn't really affected me. I think actually the interior business is flourishing due to COVID because so many people are at home and they really want to improve the situation they're living in. Lots of home offices are being created. I also think for our industry, there's so much movement in the housing at the moment that actually I think we're benefiting, but I do wonder in a few years' time if that's all going to change once people start going back to work, or has it been a change forever? We just don't know. In terms of the industry being affected by technology in the next 15 to 20 years, I really don't know. It is an industry that is affected by technology, but because it's a very hands-on industry, there's a lot of building work that's required. The only way that I can really think it affects it is it affects the way you design. So you can now, for instance, create 3D spaces and wear goggles and stand in your home and visualize what it really looks like. You can build all these sketches people had to do by hand. You can now build them on programs. So you can't really design anything without a designer, and things like fabrics and paints and wallpapers will always be tactile. You'll always need samples. It'll always be much more physical and art-based than other industries. So I think technology might affect the way we design things, but will not affect the output at the end of the day, because the output will always follow style. And I think style is what will always affect the industry. What I design might not necessarily be what somebody else designs, and maybe I'm successful now, but maybe in 5 years' time, the way I like design is no longer fashionable and somebody else becomes more successful. So that's what I think is more important to think about.